Coming up on today's DLLS Stars show, another bombshell news moment for Dallas. Matt Duchene has re-signed, and we're going to get into all of it right now here on a Thursday, and it's DLLS. Play responsibly. And by Happiest Hour, your home base and the best place to watch anything, whether it's the Stanley Cup final, the NBA final, all the sports, just steps away from the AAC, the ultimate spot with 50-plus beers and 40-plus TVs for all the big moments every single game day. Happiest Hour, your favorite spot to watch the Stanley Cup final and lots of other great sports. Now let's talk about Big Brothers, Big Sisters. That's why we're wearing the shirts today, because as part of All City Spirit Week, we're teaming up with Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America, an incredible group of life-changing mentorships for kids across the country. We've set a goal of $10,000 for the week. We'd love to smash right through that, and we can with your help. You can donate with the link in the video right here on YouTube or in the description. And if you want to make an even bigger impact, you can sign up to be a big by visiting bbs.org/allcity. Let's do something meaningful together this week. Now, before we get to the show, we have a special challenge for our DLLS Stars live viewers today. If we can get $100 in donations for Big Brothers, Big Sisters in this hour, our general manager, GM Ben, will match the $100. So not only is it for a good cause, it's also costing our boss money.
Love that.
So we're all in favor of that. So go do what you can. Let's cost GM Ben a few bucks and donate to a good cause. All right. Welcome into Spirit Week's Thursday edition of the DLLS Stars podcast alongside Craig Ludwig and Sam Nessler. I'm Owen Newkirk. TC Fleming is at the controls today as our producer, as Elijah has another show to do as well this afternoon. He's a busy guy. Let's talk about the moment of the day, or the big news of the day. It involves Matt Duchene. We did an emergency pod this morning when the Stars announced that they had extended Matt Duchene 4 years, $18 million. That's a $4.5 million AAV, average annual value. That's what his annual cap hit will be. Sam, we'll get into the details in a minute, but the fact that the Stars did this and they lock up Duchene, we're still a couple weeks away from free agency and obviously the draft before that. This is a big one for the Stars to lock up a guy who's become part of their leadership group pretty fast.
Yeah, a huge part of it. And that's the two sides of this, right? It's not just the player. He's a point-per-game guy. He's been very consistent. He's played most of the games that he's been around with Dallas, pushed through some injuries and things like that. He's a productive player. He brought a lot out of Marchment and Sagan with that line, but he's also the veteran guy. He's a leader. We know how great he is at talking to media. You got to imagine that's how he's able to get through to players, younger players, talk to guys like Wyatt Johnston, lead by example with a group that is basically watching two different young cores come into their own. So it's a perfect balance to have him there. The question was, he said he wanted security, and the Stars gave him that with the 4-year deal and a pretty good $4.5 million cap hit. So I think it's a good deal for both sides. And for Matt Duchene, that's great for him. It's good to see him. He worked hard for it. He deserved it. And we'll talk about the playoff stuff, but good for both sides and happy for Matt Duchene.
Yeah. I think you said everything that I could add, or there is really nothing more I would add about Matt, but I look at Jim Nill, respecting the veteran guys. Matt made it known that he wanted to be here. A lot of people do want to be here because of the way Jim Nill and Brad Alberts and everybody runs the organization. So, but I think what you do is you go out, you take care of them. They come to an agreement on a contract, which is probably fair for both sides. But again, understanding that he's a leader, like he said, a veteran guy, has a family, has made it known he'd love to, eventually stay here. So I think it's the respect that management has for a player like Matt. And as you said, I mean, we know what Matt does on the ice, and we talked about this morning, is that he's obviously a big piece in that room, and I think it's you have to have that leadership group, whether you wear a letter or not, and to add with Jamie and, Miro and Hintz and all those kind of guys, and your group just keeps on getting bigger when you have a veteran guy that has accomplished everything that he has. And the other thing that we mentioned, I think what makes this a little bit easier for him too is to know that Matt has been relatively durable over his career. He's played a lot of the games.
Well, let me ask you this. We talked about this in the emergency pod, but we said we were going to flush this out a little bit more. Matt Duchene was on a 1-year deal 2 years ago as he was bought out. Very surprised from him. He was stunned that the Preds decided to buy him out. Came to Dallas on a 1-year deal, said he was dealing with it all year, that year. This past season, the one that we've just put a bow on, and now we're moving into 2025-26. We'll get to that later. He signed another 1-year deal, the 24-25 season, for pretty cheap money. He's getting paid a lot still by Nashville, still is for a couple more seasons. But at the end of this year, he said in our media end of season availability, which we didn't even get to yet. There's been so much news. I keep moving it back saying, hey, we'll clip some of that.
A lot of time in August.
We'll play that audio. Right. Well, now, but he said, Luds, he goes, I absolutely want to be here, but I'm looking for a little security for my young family. I don't want to bounce him around. Now, full no move the next 2 years. And then you mentioned this in the emergency pod, and I think this was really astute. There is an out for the Stars in years 3 and 4. It's a very small one because it's a 5-team trade to list, not 5-team no trade. You can trade me to one of the 5 teams that I pick. What does that do from the respect between the player, the agent, and the GM that's clearly there, and Matt said as much, and the fact that there's a little bit of, let's say, leeway or wiggle room for the organization, knowing that he's going to be in his mid to upper 30s by the time this thing is over?
I think it's respect from both sides.
Yeah.
And I think that what Matt had said, and he didn't say that to Jake Ottinger. He didn't say that to Jamie Benn. He said it publicly that I want a little bit of a raise here. So, and Jim hears that. Jim respects his comment. Jim respects what he's brought to the team. And like I said, okay, Matt, let's get it done. I mean, you've earned it. You definitely earn more money than we've been paying you for the last couple of years, and we expect you to continue that and continue everything that you've done. So as good as Matt Duchene has been over his whole career and putting numbers up and being able to do all these kind of things, I just go back from the mutual respect between the players, especially the veteran guys, and the guy that's, so to speak, driving the bus at the top of the mountain up there.
Talk to us a bit about the way the contract breaks down, because that was an interesting thing. I mentioned, obviously, the no trades, the full no move the first 2 years, and then the 5-team trade to list. So there's a little bit of an out clause if they wanted to later. But how does the money stack up as far as what we saw?
One thing on that five-team thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
It sounds like it's a small window, right? I just think that if Matt Duchene, for any reason that they have a parting of ways, it's going to be easy for one of those 5 teams to say, yeah, we'll bring him in, just because of everything he's done, the way he's handled his business and like that. So I think for Matt, I think he knows, and his agent probably knows, you want 5 teams? Here's the 5 teams.
Yeah.
It's not 10. It's not 15.
Right.
It'll be easy because you
don't think that was a big sticking point in negotiation?
Probably not. I mean, but I'm sure he picked a couple teams. I'm sure he picked
he could probably change them too,
that
right?
are 2 years old and that are going to be cup contenders. I mean, he's not taking the San Jose Sharks. I'm going to guess they're not on that list. I don't know.
Well, 3-4 years from now, you never know.
You could, but I mean, you kind of look. Your people do their research. They do the work, and they go, okay, well, this team's knocking on the door. This team's knocking on the door, and I don't mean knocking on the door from 100 yards away. I mean from 5 feet away. So that's my opinion on that too.
And one thing with that, lads, we're curious. If you're looking at that, Matt Duchene has not won a cup, right? So that's number one right now, right? If let's say Dallas wins the cup this year, next year, whatever, while he's here, and then he does get traded 2 years from now, does that change at all? Does he then think, you know what, I'd rather go to Sunrise, Florida?
Well, I think I think that if this team is in a position to win another cup, I would say no, he'd want to stay here. But if he's going to go someplace, then of the 5 of the 32 teams, or I don't know, maybe there'll be 34 by then. I have no idea.
36.
But of the 32, one of those 5 is probably pretty close to winning a Stanley Cup, right? And now, if he does have a Stanley Cup, why wouldn't you want to bring in some more veteran leadership that has been there and done it?
Guess
got to
what I
break
did?
that contract down.
Guess what I didn't say at the top that I probably should have?
I was wondering.
Matt Duchene is going to join us today in the 4th segment. So about 1:45 Central Time, live via remote. He's going to talk. We're going to actually get a chance to talk to the guy today. So thanks to Stars PR for helping set that up. We'll get to Matt and talk. I mean, he will easily be able to fill a segment, maybe a little bit more. But I'm excited to talk to him. I've been wanting him on the show for a while. I want him in studio. Before your deal, I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to figure that out.
We'll get him.
Yes.
We'll get
so
him
that means we don't have to try to bombard him with every possible question.
Training camp's going to be a good time to sucker some
yeah,
players into
some of
getting in
the
here.
current Stars players, hey, between the end of August and middle of September, come join us in the studio a little bit. Luds, let's talk about the salary numbers. Then we'll get to the positional breakdown of the forward group.
Yep. So as we mentioned, it's a 4-year deal, $4.5 million cap hit. So we got for year one, it's a $3 million base with $3 million signing bonus. Year 2 is $1.8 million base with another $3 million signing bonus, and then year 3 and 4 is $3.6 million base. And then, as you mentioned, 1 and 2 no move clause, 3 and 4 5 team approved trade list. So, I'd love to hear. I think Sean's got a lot of good stuff on this, so I'd love to talk to him when we have him on the show next to hear how teams use bonuses and things like that to kind of change things up. But the most important thing here for the Stars in their situation is the $4.5 million cap hit.
We talked about this in the emergency pod. So if you've already watched that, it's not exactly the same, but I wanted to just say we're not just going to completely regurgitate that. We mentioned last week, Luds, we were talking about Wyatt Johnston. I brought up the potential that he can, as he grows, move up into that number 2 slot behind Rope Hintz as center depth. And then you have Sam Steele in your 3. And then does Maverick Bork go to the middle because he's a center? Does Oscar Beck do that? And you said, no, I really like Sam Steele in the 4 hole, not because he's not capable of playing up, but because of what it does for your team. So with Duchene signing, what does it do for your team?
Well, I mean, you can talk about, Hintz and Johnson and Duchene as your top 3. And I look at a team that just won the Stanley Cup. I don't know if you can pick out the number 1 center on that team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think for a long time here, this team has been able to just roll their lines. So as far as who you want to put in the 2 hole or in the 3 hole, I don't think it really matters. But, for me, look at if we know someone's got to move. I mean, they're not squeezing all these guys in, right? What do they have? $400,000-$500,000 right now. So there's going to be changes. Obviously, there's going to be some changes here. So, and I'm expecting there's probably going to be a forward that's going to be gone. There might even be 2 forwards that are going to be gone, right? So does that mean when you have a guy that's versatile like a Sam Steele, you bring him up, you could go ahead and plug him in the middle of the ice if you want. I think he could go up and just let's just, for argument's sake, that it's Mason Marchment that's not here, and that was been such a good line for the Dallas this year. I think they had some speed bumps, but I think a lot of that may have with injuries on both sides. But now, what would happen if you took a guy like Steele and put him on a line with Matt? That's got that creativity, but he brings that little jam. I think every line needs some jam on it. That's where I would love to see this team get to. And so Steele could be one of those kind of guys. I'm not saying he's a perfect fit for Matt, but I just think that whoever's going to flank Matt Duchene is going to have the ability to score 15 to 20, 25 goals here.
When he was playing, because he wasn't every night, you said Colin Blackwell should be moved up because he was providing some net front forechecking.
Right. And so, but that's because other guys weren't.
That's right.
So it was, I mean, yes, it was about those, but it was more about the guys
who was
find the guys that can do it.
But I think that for the way I think playoff hockey should be played, and I think you do it for 82 going into that, is you get that out of Steele. You get, I'm not going to say Oscar Beck is the same, but he gives you up and down, north, south, get to the front of the net. And so did Colin Blackwell. You look at the bite that Colin Blackwell has in front of the net, and I think that stuff kind of rubs off. Who I thought it rubbed off on was Maverick Bork at times, because Bork would get in there. When Stank was here, Stankoven was one of those. So I think those kind of guys, and you can take those kind of guys, and when you don't have a line that's playing that way, you can take a guy like Steele and just go ahead. Let's just say Granlund comes back.
Yep.
But Granlund's not adding that to Hintz and Rantanen for some reason. You can take a guy like Steele and put him up there and add him to that line. And what that does is that basically pisses off Granlund. Now you get him to go, and then he gets back up into his spot. So I think there's a way you can move those players around to get a message across to the rest of the group.
I actually like that idea of Maverick Bork playing on the right of Duchene too, because he did get some of that in his game, because he learned that he had to. Otherwise, he can't just be. He's not a. At least as of now, he's not a Wyatt Johnston type of ceiling. He's a middle 6 guy, but so if he can play like that, he can earn himself some more time in there.
What he'll have to do, though, let's just say, for instance, that happens. If he did that, he would have to learn to play a little bit like Tyler Seguin. Because Tyler can read off of where Matt is.
Find the open
and we've
spots.
talked all year long where I think Matt tries to get to is to that right-hand side of the ice to be able to pull up, make passes, good passes, obviously. on his forehand side. And Tyler's easy, he can read that.
Yep.
So if you do put a young player like up there, somebody has to be able to adapt to where Matt Duchene likes to go. And I think Tyler and Matt are obviously good friends, right?
That's the duo right there.
Well, they continually talk about things. Yeah, they all do nowadays. They talk about it. They probably play video. I don't know if those two guys do. They might be past that, but
They're dads now. So,
but I'm just saying, there's a lot of conversations that happen away from the rink, and here I can go here. You see that, and they watch games, and so that would be something that you'd have to find out if a guy like Bork can make those adjustments and make that read off of a player that plays like Matt Duchene.
Yeah, and the question is, we'll talk, I'm sure, a ton about it, but if Mason Marchman is still on this team in October, do you run back with that line again?
Well, don't talk that now because we got to talk about that next here on the DLS Stars podcast.
Can't go 15 minutes without talking about alcohol or the Grundle. What's up, Stars fans? Well, I'll tell you what's up. We're 8 days away from the NHL draft, right? That's next Friday.
That's
next
Friday
that's
night.
8 days away. And we're going to be doing this for 3 hours live.
3 hours.
3 hours live.
However long the first round
better
is.
not be in here sweating hogs.
Oh, yeah. We're in the sauna. But here's the deal with that is Dallas doesn't really have a first-round pick as of now in the first round. So we'll see what Jim Nill can pull off during the draft. So we'll move on from there. Enjoying the game should be easy, so don't overthink it. What to wear? Well, that's pretty easy, too. Just throw on your favorite Stars jersey. Not sure what to serve your friends? That's even easier. Pick up some pizza, grab some Bud Light, and stock up the fridge, especially for next Friday. It's going to be a long one. See? Just that easy. Just like Bud Light, which is always brewed with 4 simple ingredients, clean, crisp taste. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy, but remember, always do it responsibly. Bud Light, St. Louis, Missouri.
All right, lads, let's talk about Wendy's Frosty Shop because if you love Wendy's classic Frosty flavors, which I don't know why you wouldn't.
Sam does.
We have some big news. There are all new Frosty Swirl and Frosty Fusion flavors that you can get in either chocolate or vanilla. So it's the same creamy treat you've always loved, but now with a flavor refresh. So, as Sam likes to ask, what are these new flavors? Well, thanks for asking,
What are these
Sam.
new flavors?
So thankful for asking.
We'll work on it.
We've got the Frosty Swirls, strawberry, brownie batter, caramel, or caramel, depending on how you prefer. That's where you have the regular Frosty, chocolate or vanilla, and a swirl flavor. Then they've got the Fusions, which is thoroughly blended and mixed. Oreo brownie, caramel crunch, Pop-Tart strawberry. I had one of those yesterday during our musical chairs day. It was delicious. Not to mention that, yes, you can still get it in vanilla, too. It doesn't just have to be the chocolate flavor, although also very, very good. By the way, the Pop-Tart strawberry with vanilla, 2 thumbs up. I thought it was great.
That's the one that John
That's the
had.
one that John ate the first day, and it went right through his delicate system. Anyway, whatever flavor you're craving, odds are we've got a Frosty for it. So clock in for sweet treat time anytime, including midnight or later, with Wendy's all new Frosty flavors. A refresh on a classic, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location. Now, speaking of Wendy's, we'll get back to the Matt Duchene talk in just a minute. We have to do our Frosty Takes brought to you by Wendy's. And yes, this is the reluctance that let's point out how we're not right on lots of things or everything or many things perhaps. And unfortunately for this one, we give it to Sam.
All right, Wendy's Frosty Take. TC, you have that graphic by any chance of the bracket? Let me pop that up.
There's
there.
a lot of missing color in
you'll
this
notice
bracket
it's the
for
one
a reason.
that's all gray or darkened out. So my Stanley Cup bracket, I didn't do super well. I think I was in second to last overall.
Well, we'll get to the standings.
The main part of that is that my Stanley Cup was the Vegas Golden Knights defeating the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Just missed.
I just missed as the Lightning were out in the first round and Vegas was out in the second round. My Western Conference final was Winnipeg against Vegas, Tampa against Carolina in the East. So I had 1 correct in the conference final.
Better.
I had Ottawa beating Toronto as well.
Not so much.
Didn't nail that one.
Close.
It just wasn't a good
Ottawa
run for me.
Put up a little
They
fight
put
there.
up a fight. I thought they were going to pull it off. But the Wendy's Frosty Take is that turns out Vegas Golden Knights did not defeat the Tampa Bay Lightning for the Stanley Cup championship this year.
That could actually be a read for Mando too. Get rid of some of the stank.
Wendy's is putting a twist on a classic with all new Frosty flavors. Find your new favorite flavor and clock in for sweet treat time anytime, including midnight or later. A refresh on a classic, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location. Okay, More Matt Duchene talk. Mason Marchment. And I'm glad you brought that up, Sam, because we saw a lot of stuff swirling about Jason Robertson over the last week and a half.
Yep.
It got cooled off a bit. Sean is not on the show today, but his elite prospects colleague, Cam Robinson, actually tweeted something about this not that long ago, basically saying there's a lot of question marks about how the Stars are going to get all their business done with the cap space they don't have. Luds was right, about $455,000 cap space. That's nothing, right? That's not even a minimum player contract. Well, Cam's reporting that, according to a couple of league sources he talked to, Jason Robertson's name is not out there right now. But Mason Marchment is. He has a 10-team no trade. He makes $4.5 million on the cap. So of 32 teams, obviously you subtract the Stars, there's 31 potential trade partners. 10-team no trade, you're down to 21 available suitors. If you do that to open up cap space, do you think Mason Marchment gets you what you want, and you have to then fill that hole? We talked about Duchene Sagan being a pretty much dynamic duo. If you're not convinced that Jason Robertson is going to start the season with Hintz and Rantanen, which I think they're going to try that again,
especially if Granlund's on here.
Could you see Robo with Duchene and Sagan? What, or more importantly, let's start with Marchment.
Yeah, the big one, I know Lud's going to say the same thing. The big one I said when we talked about these rumors the first time they kind of popped out a week or so ago was I'm okay with the Marchment Duchene conversations that were going on about, finding a way to bring him in. But my big point was I don't think they should bring back Duchene at the cost of Marchment. And so far, if we're talking Mason Marchment's salary cap, Duchene's getting the same amount on his new deal. Jamie Benn still needs to be signed. It just feels like there's nothing about Mason Marchment that says we need to deal this guy away. I know Luds, and I agree, he has the highest potential to be the type of player they need that's currently on this roster probably. But it comes at a point where it's a $4.5 million contract for a guy who is not producing very much in the playoffs and isn't bringing that. So the question is, do they believe he can, one, become a top 6 producer in the playoffs, or two, can he become that type of guy with the grit and the greasy, the Sam Bennett type of player that can bring that in the playoffs? That's the only way I see them thinking that's worth it. The question is now, how else do you make room? And there's not a whole lot of options.
That's the problem. There's just you don't have any money left right now. Somebody's got to go. And I would say, this is kind of for a lot of players. When you look at Mason, obviously a big kid, right? He plays well. He's not afraid to, get in and go to hard areas. It should be easier playing that way than putting up 25 or 30 goals. Because you just got to go to the hard areas. You got to create some space for some guys. You got to be an agitator. You can't take penalties. I think if there's a knock, obviously that's going to be the knock, is the penalty that he's taken untimely, possibly, and in the offensive zone, and sometimes
playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
And at best, cancel them out. The good stuff, because he draws them too.
And especially, like you say, in the playoffs, and they're not in games where you're down by 3 or 4 goals.
Yeah.
They're games that you're in it, or you're up, and you give a team the opportunity to climb back into it. So, for me, that's the player. And can he do that? I don't know if he's had a steady diet of that. But I do think that sometimes when you play with guys that are like the Matt Duchenes and Tyler Sagans, you kind of get caught up in playing that way. And then also go back to last year, that line was their best line. Yeah. But again, they're their best line for 82 games. And they play that kind of style. They score those goals. And unfortunately, they don't come that easy in the playoffs. So at some point, there's got to be some kind of mindset that changes a little bit. But, we can keep on talking about this, all the ifs and ands. To me, it's going to be more curious about which guys are not going to be here. And then you can go ahead and say, okay, now which guys are going to come in and give this
you have
team
to create space to use that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. I think we are all in agreement that if they can move him without costing anything or much, the first one would be Matt Dumba's $3.75 million for this one more year, right? Is that the one?
Well, that's been obvious since January.
But isn't that the one if you say, okay, how do we create?
But that's not that easy.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one you would say, okay, we want to do that. But how do we do it, and can we do it without costing us other things?
Well, it's what you're going to have to give up with it.
That's what I'm saying.
That's really where it comes. And again, Dallas does not have anything in that first round, and so that's obviously not going to bring a first-round pick back. And again, it makes it even harder because he really never got his footing all year long. And there were times when I thought Matt had played better than whatever they were saying.
Yes.
But then he gets pulled out. So, and could this just be a case of the coach? Maybe it was something that Pete DeBoer and him didn't have they couldn't come in. And did that affect Dumba's play? And you can keep Matt Dumba. I don't know where they're going with it. But to me, again, I don't think there's a better guy to have to be trying to squeeze what you want and squeeze something out of what you don't have right now, and that's money, than Jim Nill. I mean, he could have easily been a 3-time repeater as far as GM of the year, but
we still don't know, right? Did they announce it?
I don't think they
Are we all saying it's going to be?
Let me say this:
is it going to be Zito from
Well,
Florida?
let's just say if they haven't announced it yet, and somebody else was there, they can erase it and put Zito's name on it. I'm just saying.
I mean,
come on.
If it's not Bill Zito for winning back-to-back Stanley Cups and trading to get
And
Seth
especially
Jones
how he did
and
that.
Brad Marchand,
to me, it's a no-brainer.
I would think so.
Who knows?
So look at the free agents the Dallas Stars have right now, meaning UFAs and RFAs. Jamie Benn, we all believe he's going to be back. He said he wants to be. The Stars said he'll be. Nil basically said as long as he wants to play.
It's hard to walk that back, isn't it? Jamie wants to be here, and Jim said he's going to be.
He'll be here
Dallas
as
Star.
long as he wants to be one.
Yeah.
And
so
I think he'll sign for something that makes it doable.
Right.
Okay.
I really do.
But still have to make space, even if he signed a $1 million
They
deal
don't
with
have
some
it.
incentives. Evgeny Dodonov, Mikhail Granlund.
Wait, what did he make? Donov. What was he making? Was he making 3?
I want to say he was in the 3 range because remember that was a contract. Let's see, it was a 2. No, it was 2.25.
Oh,
What?
4.5 was the total over 2 years.
2 years.
2.5 there.
Yeah, so 2.25 was his. That was signed the offseason of 23-24 after he was traded from Montreal for Gurionov.
And
so
fake traded.
Granlund, Blackwell, other UFAs up front, Maverick Bork, RFA. We actually have a super chat about Maverick Bork. So
I'm getting somewhere near 8 million here because CC was somewhere around 3, wasn't he?
well, we got that too. So
I mean, between
TC, if you can put
CC,
Corey Dudley's super chat up. Let's give us a nice bing bong.
8, huh?
Bing
Bing bong.
Bing
There
bong.
you go.
Corey Dudley with a Masterton 99 Cup year super chat. One player not mentioned in the Duchene emergency pod, but you guys already brought him up now. Because remember, Corey, we only had so much time and we had a show. Was Maverick Bork. Will he be back next season? I don't see why he won't be back, right?
Only thing I can think is if someone offer sheets him,
But what if he's part of a deal?
or he's part of.
That's
a trade.
interesting.
I mean,
I don't.
why-
I don't.
well,
There's no
okay.
reason they won't re-sign him. Is
But
what I
don't
will
they-
say.
We know Maverick Bork is a good player.
Don't
is
they
he a great
need-
player? Is he a big player? Does he bring that element? No. So, but I think because, and again, to say he's diminutive, I don't mean that.
No,
in a
he's
negative
not
way.
a big guy.
Not a big guy.
No.
So, are you trying to get bigger? Again, I would love to be in that room and here, guys. We got to get this. We got to be bigger.
Do
We got to
you,
be tougher. I
okay,
don't
so
know.
that's an interesting question then. You need young, inexpensive contracts to fill, as you can, we already talked about, there's no space. If you got rid of Bork because you needed to trade a guy
Let's
or
just say
instead of,
you took Marchman and Bork and packaged.
Right,
Them
if
up. What
you-
would you get back?
if you had to do that, is a guy like Justin Ritzkovian, who was the AHL Rookie of the Year, is that an acceptable? I mean, Bork was the MVP.
Yeah,
Like, don't
I
you
think
hold him as a
Bork
higher?
MVP of
Bork
what?
is.
He's a
AHL.
So that's what happened.
And he's also a first rounder.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
so,
a
like,
he has a higher
everything that
ceiling.
you just said
Yeah.
now. What did that do this year? So we're talking about Ritzkovian.
Yeah, it was
everything that he did there. What's that going to do next year here?
Yeah.
yeah.
So he can be a first rounder. He can be the player of the AHL. What did he do this year?
Well, he should have.
That made him that player at this level.
Yeah, right. He should.
I don't-
He should have a higher ceiling. But the point you're making is that if there's something that makes your team better, that needs to be looked at. And I agree with you 100%. The question for me is whether he gets offer sheeted because he's shown that potential. He's in that in between there of the. I'm just thinking of the St. Louis Blues calling out and making those moves. It just.
But is the sheet is that offer going to be big enough to bring back a first round pick, or is it going to be the third round pick? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I mean, what is I mean, Army went out and grabbed those two guys, and they were big, right? Did he stay? He didn't even stay underneath the largest one. I believe Army went to the top. And did they get 3 first round picks? What did they get back?
I don't remember
Edmonton?
what they got.
They got a couple of compensatory picks, but it was nothing crazy.
Okay, so he didn't. It was not a nutty that big.
He
one
didn't
where
give
it's
him the
over-
one where it's 4 first rounders.
thing.
No,
Yeah.
because the contract dollars weren't high enough to hit that
Okay.
threshold. Before we continue this, we will be doing a lot of Matt Duchene stuff still to go. I love Misty. who is always so generous, has donated $100 to Big Brothers Big Sisters, and in the chat just now, our GM Ben just matched
also
it.
matched
so
it.
thank you to both of you.
I would love to see him do that. I just love to see the look.
You
on
want
his
to
face.
see? Look, well, you stepped
That
up,
might
and
be
you
coming out of Sam's travel expenses, though.
probably much more to go. But thank you to both AJN and GM Ben here on the DLS Stars podcast.
Is it my turn?
It's you.
Oh, heck yeah. Just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage, or yesterday on my Rangers show, a home field advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've been to or seen those big box stores where you wander endless aisles. Somehow you're hauling all the materials home, looking for an installer and coordinating everything yourself. And those people helping you out may be in the flooring department, but they might have been stocking light bulbs or working on the toilets the day before that. We know about that.
You know all about working on the toilets.
Yeah, always working on the toilets.
Hey-o.
Why is Empire Today the best bet for a new floor? Because they live in floor breathing every step of the way. It's a whole different ballgame. Their flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home, where you can pick the right flooring and right color for your space and see how it looks with your specific furniture in your specific space. It's pretty cool. Schedule a free home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. DLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. You heard that right. That is a $350 discount with promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DLLS for full details.
Thanks, Sam. Let's talk about game time, and more specifically, what's going on right now that Luds can't get enough of. The FIFA Club World Cup. That's right. Yes, Luds can't take international soccer. It's his favorite thing. Well,
How about the Gold Cup?
Well, and the Gold Cup is going on too. So you have, with Game Time,
Like
you
a
can get
solo.
tickets to everything, including exclusive zone deals for FIFA's Club World Cup, 10% off for these matchups. And there are some big ones. Now, there are none in Dallas. There are in the Gold Cup, but for the FIFA Club World Cup, if you are outside of Dallas or traveling somewhere where they will be hosting one of the Club World Cup games, they're going on daily right now. It's just the group stage, and there's a lot going on. So check that out. Go to gametime.co, or even better, download the app. You can get last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% off for buying last-minute sports, concerts, comedy, theater, you name it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the app, create an account, use the code DLS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Sam, what time is it?
Game time.
Yeah. Coming up in 15 minutes.
Almost time.
Matt Duchene will join us live here on the show, and I can't wait. So, in the meantime, guys, should we just make this the Matt Duchene hour, or do you want to? We haven't had a chance to talk about the Stanley Cup final at all, wrapping up the other night.
It was a pretty good one.
I'd love to talk about
Want to
it.
talk a little bit about that? Because you're off tomorrow.
Yeah.
Leah Simakopoulos from the Dallas Morning News will be our guest in studio. Luds and I will be hosting her. So we'll talk about lots of stuff tomorrow. But Florida wins its second straight Stanley Cup. We'll get back into Matt Duchene discussions here in just about 13 minutes or less. We had the musical chairs shows yesterday, so we weren't all together to talk about it. Luds did the Cowboy show. Sam did the Rangers. I did the Mavs. Sean
awesome.
was our representative with a bunch of other hockey writers. And actually, Luds, before we do any more about that, I have to bring up another super chat. TC, if you would find I Love Misty 1985 with a Ludwig, congratulations on the 26th Cup-iversary, Luds. Yeah.
Did you know that
They
was thing?
still remember, huh?
Did you remember that today was that day?
No, what I'll tell you, honestly, I was on the treadmill today, and I got a text message from Eddie, and Eddie Belfour had sent a message to Maddie and I, and it said, "Hey, love you guys, happy Cup something about that." So Eddie does it every year, though. So anyway, so then what happened is I thought, well, Eddie seems to be in a good mood, so I'm not. This is not breaking news because it is Ed Belfour, but we may have both of those guys on a show next week.
There we
together.
go.
So anyway,
DC, do you have
I
that
did not
tweet
know
of
that.
the Stanley Cup champion Dallas
Oh,
Stars one?
the
If you
team
don't,
photo?
it's okay. I did the team photo for the yeah. No, all good. I had the Stars posted the picture of you guys celebrating it
Oh,
today.
is that
Yeah,
right?
Stars
Yeah.
Twitter was
I was
saying,
gonna-
hey, 26 years ago today, and it's the picture of you guys all
And,
surrounding
so,
the cup.
and for everybody that's complaining about that, these guys just need one, and then you can forget about us. Their only reason they're putting us up
They
there
want
is
a new
because
one.
It's been 26
I mean,
years.
think about it. If they win one this year,
Yeah, we're gone.
Done.
We're
the
already
June
gone,
19th of the year before next year, they're not going to post about you guys. You're out of here.
Exactly.
You just got to float. And
I
you're on
wouldn't
your
even-
way.
If it wasn't for Ed, I wouldn't even known about it again today. So
Let's do a couple more super chats. I promise we'll do more on the Stanley Cup, but I don't want to have to do super chats when Matt is on.
Yes.
Marshall first with a Madonna and 99 Cup here. Most days work interferes with my live stream samming. I think he said, live stream samming.
That's when you watch Sam on a live stream.
Here today, thrilled about the signing. Lots of work ahead for Nil, but no one I trust more. Cannot wait. I need a DLLS beer night somewhere soon.
amen.
Yeah. We're going to do one this summer.
Well, we will have to have
We're gonna have
a DLS
hangout.
Stars meetup, get together, hang out.
You guys coming to Wisconsin?
We'll watch
Like,
some
what are we
baseball.
doing?
Well, you have to come back.
We'll do it before you leave.
It'll still
maybe.
be warm when you get back to town, Luds.
Yeah.
Another one, Red Skull 73 with a Canadian Bischel. No, Bischel's 6. Who's 5? Why am I? Oh, it's Lundqvist. Nils Lundqvist and Ludwig. Any word if Gardner McDougall is being looked at for head coach? He's like an older Canadian version of David Carl. He's definitely a name that's out there. And Jim Nil,
Sean talked about him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he's in the Canadian juniors.
Wait, no, that's Canadian. So that's about 385. Like, who's that? Like, well, that's you got
Oh, you
to.
gotta do it.
all right.
Do the math.
That's Canadian because he might not actually be talking about.
You're right. Let's
Oh,
see.
but I've been giving them because
But
we
I would
get
think
those.
if you're doing it 503, you may have something else in mind, especially when you write Canadian out.
Well, I mean, it's
What does it come out
it's
to?
Ludwig, and it's 67. Who's 67?
Oh.
Bet you're ready.
That's ready, Max.
That's the only one I got.
Well, what is?
Trying to think of a Stars
what
player.
is? What number? Oh no, it's 63. I was thinking of Marchand. He's
No, that would have been
63.
Ribeiro.
Oh, for Stars, yeah. So,
And Dodonov.
I would think Jim said this. Jim Nils basically said he's going to cast a wide, broad net, talk about everything, look at everything. I'm sure that Gardner McDougall's name will be brought up. Whether or not he gets an interview is not something I know details of, but I would imagine he's considering all things. And that's the thing, guys. I don't think, and we talked about this a bit before, I don't think that the Jim Nil, because it's the only vacancy out there, and we've discussed the coaching stuff in recent pods, that he has the urgency and needs to go fast, right? He's not competing with any other team for a hire at the moment. I don't think having the coach signed by the draft is necessarily important, but free agency might be
a little different.
just because if you're trying to lure somebody who's not like Matt Duchene, who's not comfortable here already, he probably wants to know who's going to be coaching, or maybe not. You think?
I would imagine you would, especially with the way that things ended with Pete DeBoer. They want to make sure they know which direction the team is going. That's the most important thing, right? We talked. It's not necessarily who the guy is behind the bench. It's what structure are we going to be playing? What's the focus this season, and where is our team looking to get better? I think that's the most important part. So I would think that Jim wants something done here in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you for the super chats. Keep them coming if you would like. But let's talk about that Stanley Cup final. Lud's game number 6 was how it ended up. I was going to clip the video, but we had some producer juggling. We had some Duchene news. We all picked Florida except for Sean.
We've had 3 different producers in the last 4 shows. I
correct.
think.
Well,
I think
partly
they're trying to tell us something.
Yeah.
Nobody likes us. It's all right.
part
I get it.
of Sean getting it wrong was because he picked Edmonton because that was his preseason pick, and he stuck with it. But he said, I think Florida. You guys both picked Florida in 6.
Somebody said Florida in 6.
Yeah, you got that right. Why do you think Florida was the better team? Because they clearly were in the final.
Where do you want to start?
Yeah.
I mean, again, you can look at Forsling, who goes in, young defenseman. They pick him up. I think they picked him up on waivers or something like that. I don't know, but just the kid comes in and shuts down Connor McDavid.
Yep.
What Florida did is they led all the time. Teams were always chasing them. I think
it was NHL record. They led.
They
the
did
longest
all
of any
time
team in history.
all time in history. So, I mean, you can go ahead. I think it's easy to pick Edmonton apart right now. But when your 2 top players in the NHL, and that you can argue that, but in Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, when they're not factors over the course of 6 games, and I don't care what round it is, but when they're not really factors and they're frustrated, it's not because of 1 or 2 players on the other side.
Yep.
It's the whole team. It's the way that team was built. It's the way that team goes about their business. I think obviously the moves that were brought in, bringing Marchand in, and we can go down that whole thing. But the thing about that team is there is a buy-in from 24 players or 25 players that's there, and they play a certain way. They have no concerns, it appears, of what the score is at any point during a game. They don't change their game. I'd sent to you guys in that last game, in the first 4 minutes of Game 6, Edmonton ran everything in sight. They outshot Florida. It was like 4-5-0. Bobrovsky looked a little shaky to me on a couple of those saves. Florida doesn't even waver. They come back, they score a goal, and then Edmonton changes their game. And it's like, what? You guys were getting scoring chances and you were doing this, and all of a sudden they didn't touch anybody. And then they never got to touch the puck the rest of the game. So, this is more of a testament to Florida. They have their blueprint. They stay with their blueprint, and there is no panic if they get scored on first, which they never did, or they're trailing at the end of a period, which was very rare. But there were games that they trailed in, and they just keep on marching, and they believe in each other, and they believe the process, and probably a lot of that starts with Paul Maurice behind the bench. I think that he's done a heck of a job. They've got some bigger personalities there, but he found a way to bring everybody into that group, and even especially the new guys. And again, I can look at that Brad Marchand dude. I mean, he's captain of the Boston Bruins, and he won a cup with the Boston Bruins. He comes to Florida. He's a third liner. He plays 12 to 14 minutes a night. He scores big goals. He's a factor. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't say anything wrong. So that's just the buy-in. It's about what that they have a culture, and you could say is that I've heard people say it started with Matthew Tkachuk when he came there. Whether that's true or not, I think there were probably some things in place, but there's a culture there that whole group understands, and why not? Look at where they're at right now. They're probably still at the elbow room right now.
They had some reminding of the.
And they did a couple. They put a couple dings in it already
before
it
even left the ice. It was broken. I mean,
when you're in the locker room, you want to raise that thing. It went into that. That's what happened. I mean,
but it was on the ice.
Oh, the first one?
The big crack on the top was
no.
on the ice.
I'm talking about the one on the bottom.
Yeah. No,
the bottom was dinged up in a lot.
Here we go. You got a picture of it.
Oh yeah,
there we go.
I mean that is on the ice. That's why they're still celebrating.
They
on
haven't
the ice,
even left the ice.
Means I watched the whole thing. I watched every player and the GM. I didn't see anyone drop it. So I don't know where that came from. But the thing that you said everything perfectly. I think the three things that I noticed in that series was Florida just said, here's what Edmonton does well. We're not going to let them do that. If they want to beat us, they're going to do it a different way. And the other one was Bobrovsky, and this is the way Florida's been forever. Bobrovsky doesn't have to be incredible. He has to be good. Yep. And when he wasn't good, like the Nurse goal and those, Edmonton won the games.
Yep.
When he was good, they had no issue.
No
they won
panic
the games
from him, right?
Yeah, they won the games. They're confident that he's going to make the save when they need him to make it. And then the other one is what you brought up. Those guys, McDavid and Draisaitl, we know what they can do. We also know that teams have found a way to somewhat shut them down, and Florida did that. The depth of Edmonton carried them through three rounds. They dominated. They were the best players on their team, especially in the series against Dallas. They were getting the goals from Perry and those guys. Those guys were kind of invisible. Evander Kane penaltied himself out of the series, basically, and they weren't able to get those goals that they got. And that, I mean, if you look at these teams, I think someone said, I can't remember where I heard it, but someone was talking about Edmonton should look at this season as this was a really good season. We were the second best team in the NHL. But I think the second best by a good amount. This was a powerhouse Florida team that was going to win the Stanley Cup as soon as that playoff.
It probably wouldn't have mattered who they played.
Yeah,
they were going to do that.
I think so.
Well, there was a couple things that were very telling for me, and the most important one for me was from their captain McDavid, and he made a statement, and he said they're making adjustments and we're not. And I'm like, ooh, he said that out loud. So I'm going, is that directed to somebody in your room right now? And when you have the best player on the planet that is making those kind of comments, first thing that comes out is frustration. But when you make those kind of things, you're saying it for a reason, and whatever that reason may be. And he just happens to have only 1 year left on his contract. I don't think.
I wanted to bring that up. I mean, he got asked at end of season.
The changes in-game changes or the changes off the ice? Did they make, when he said that?
I think there's an open to interpretation there.
Exactly. They made changes, and is he talking about adding players to the team that we didn't? Well, you brought in Trent Frederick. I mean, you brought Kane. I mean, but
And
different kind of changes.
They brought in a coach that he was very agreeable on, and Chris Knobloch.
Yeah. Well, he's had him since he was 14 years old.
If you're saying changes, I think it has to be in the crease. Because,
that's a no-brainer.
Because that's
a no-brainer.
If they had, and
but
look,
that's not easy.
But if they had Stuart Skinner play the way he did against the Dallas Stars,
Yeah, he was terrible in that game too.
right? I mean, if do they win the Stanley Cup if Skinner plays like he did in the third round?
I mean, the fact they went
Maybe
to Game 6 with this team with him not playing that way, you got to imagine they at least push that to 7 and have a much better chance. He was, because it wasn't close. He was much worse.
It'll be really interesting. And then, of course, as Lutz is talking about contract extension, McDavid has 1 year left on an 8-year, $100 million contract. He's eligible to do an extension starting July 1st. One of my buddies just sent me a quote from his end of season media availability where McDavid said it's too early. I'm going to take some time. I'm not going to rush in anything. Exactly what you'd expect. He's not going to give away anything of negotiations in the media.
He's doing no long-term thing either. I'll bet you he doesn't do more than 3 or 4
But Luds, he could be a UFA in 2026 at age of 29.
Yeah.
Does he want to do that? Does he want to leave Edmonton? Is he looking for?
Does he want to leave Leon? I think they're like this.
You think that they're too tight?
Well, yeah. I mean, you shouldn't. I can't say never, but there's no way he's signing anything longer than 3 or 4 years because the cap's going up to 120 million. Then he really screws himself. If he signed for 8 years, then he's saying I'm going to be in Edmonton for the rest of my career. Do you know how much money he loses in the last 4 years?
Yeah,
that's what I mean. I mean, he could play 10 to 15 years.
He's got good representation. They're not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, especially when some of that money's going in their
pocket. Can you imagine
pocket.
the chaos, though, if McDavid decided he was going to go to the market to free agency?
That's totally different.
I mean,
I don't know how
that's
do you
next
fit
level.
him in.
And the fact that I'm saying next level Rantanen was a big deal.
And what you're going to have to give up.
And think of all the teams that would start tanking or dumping space to try to set up to, hey, we could transform our team if we could get Connor McDavid.
Yeah, but then you're getting Connor McDavid at what, 30?
29?
Just say
30?
He signs a 2-year, 3-year deal.
Okay.
You get him at 31, 32 years old.
He's still going to be pretty
good. But what you have to give up, and then by the time you build that team back up, because you're giving some pieces away. You're not just coming into Florida.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He probably doesn't want to go to a team like Chicago right now. Not saying Chicago when they were a dynasty, but just
he doesn't. Yeah. He's not a player that needs the money anymore. He needs to go someplace where he's winning a championship. Yep. That's all there is to it.
Okay, moments away. Matt Duchene should be connecting in just a minute here on the DLS Stars podcast. We'll talk to the newest extender of contracts. But first, we have a lot to talk about. Let's start with the ball knower bonus. This might be the last ball knower bonus of the final/finals. Okay. What's the ball knower bonus? Well, I'm glad you asked. Thanks, Sam. Boy, you always know exactly how to ask that. It's back here at DLLS, and we had a double challenge with the Stanley Cup final and the NBA finals. However, the Stanley Cup is done. It's been awarded. It's been won. So now we have Game 6 of the NBA Finals. Remember, it's plural in basketball. So how do you do it? First, you start by picking the winner of tonight's Game 6. Browse our store, make a purchase of at least $25 or more. If your pick wins, you win a gift card for the same amount as your original order. Here's the important thing. You must click on the link in the chat, in the show, YouTube description, either one of those, to make your bet and then to try to win your gift card. So, who do you think will win Game 6 of the NBA Finals tonight? Is it going to be Indiana and force a 7? Is it going to be OKC and win it all? Make the pick, get it right. You get a gift card on All City. That is the ball knower bonus. Speaking of competitions, I think now in the rest of our diehard read, it would be a great time for us to celebrate our first ever diehard Discord Stanley Cup bracket challenge. We have a winner. His name is Alistair Minton. We know him. It's not Sam.
Dang.
As he finished first because he was the only one that went with the Florida Panthers.
He recently started playing hockey too.
And so Alistair,
no, he's the one over
in England.
England. Yeah.
He got the win with 218 points. Socially Distant was second. Ryan Chambers third. Schmitty fourth with a Schmidt Happens. And Pickle Jar came in 5th.
What was the second place points?
Second, so 218 won, 191.
Ooh, tight.
Alistair jumped everybody because he got the champion right. How about our show? I finished in 11th place with 122 points, almost 100 points behind the winner. We had 2 DNFs. We should have tried to let's pick one out, but we didn't. And Sean was ready to sign in and then forgot to fill out a bracket.
In my defense,
Yep.
I was sitting at Freddy's, a little hamburger place,
Yep.
in the parking lot, trying to get on the damn thing, and I couldn't get on it. And I think I even sent you guys something, but
Yeah.
somebody, and you didn't respond. Now.
Next time, we will make sure that you get on it.
Use a VPN.
Well, the reason why I bring that up is
You're
because
lucky, Alistair.
of the 36 people that signed up for our bracket challenge, one of them didn't fill out a bracket. Sean actually didn't even get to the sign-up part. Sam did not finish last.
Yep.
Producer
Even better.
John.
Even better is
Sam
finished
did-
last.
Oh, that is
John
better.
did finish
Sam had
last.
71
Nah,
points.
nah,
John
nah.
had 49.
Oh, that's awful.
That was the worst.
Sucker.
That's awful.
It was a tough.
118 to
That's
49.
embarrassing.
It was a tough one.
and he's
Okay.
Oh,
Ready?
that's awful.
And so thank you. Sign up to be a diehard. Go to alldls.com, and we will continue to do fun stuff like that. You know it. But right now, the man of the hour, time to bring on and welcome for the first time on the DLS Stars Show, a guy that we have been clamoring for to be a guest for months and months and months. And now we have 4 years to try to make an agreement and hit his rider. But
that doesn't look like a Bud Light either.
his representatives are challenging. Speaking of a golf challenge, look who it is. It's Matt Duchene. Hi, Matt.
Hey guys, how you doing?
We're doing great. How are you doing after the news of this morning? You had said at the end of season media availability you wanted a little security. You feeling a little secure today?
Yeah, definitely. No, it's great. I think, anytime you're working through this kind of stuff, it's stressful and it's tough, and you're trying to do the right thing for your career, right thing for your family, everything. And, I think, obviously there's a business side to it. I think, that's always the toughest part. We had no intention of leaving Dallas, and, we wanted to try and make everything meet up, and definitely getting 4 years out of it was big for us. And, I'm motivated to play a lot, even longer than that at this point. We'll see, we'll reassess once we get there. But, I feel like I've got a lot left in the tank, and that was a big reason we wanted to do something like that. So it's great. I'm very grateful to the Stars organization for believing in me, and believing that, I can keep doing my thing, into being 38 years old, because that's what I'll be when this is up. So it's weird. I still identify as being the young guy, because when I came in, I was 18, and I was the young guy basically until one day I woke up and I wasn't anymore. So most of my career, I've kind of been that guy, and now it's like I'm the old guy. So it's it's a little different feeling, but like I said, I feel great, and there's no reason why I feel like I should slow down at this point.
Matt, can you pinpoint it to one thing? Why this is the place that you wanted to get back to and stay here? I mean, is it? I know it's always hard to pick one thing, but I'm just curious. Is there anything that sticks out in particular?
Well, there's a lot of great places to live. There's a lot of great, there's a lot of great teams out there. For me, this is the place where both really meet and are the best fit for my family and for myself on and off the ice. The fit on the ice has been perfect. There's always room for improvement, and I'm always looking to get better. I go home in the summer with 3 or 4 things I want to improve on or keep enforcing every year. And then off the ice, our family's been, it's been the biggest blessing. And when we found out we were leaving Nashville like we did, which was abrupt and heartbreaking, another place that we still consider, home. We have, a place there. We're actually heading up there on Sunday for a couple weeks. But when that happened, we didn't know if we'd ever find something that felt like that again. And we found somewhere that I actually think at this point of our lives and my kids' age is a better fit for us than Nashville at this point. So that was completely unexpected. It was, all God's plan, and we're just very grateful. And there was no way I was gonna, I wasn't gonna try and upset that apple cart. It's when it's such a great fit on and off the ice.
Yeah, Matt, the management, the coaching staff, everyone's made it clear that this team is close. And you guys said it in your exit interviews. You felt you could win the Cup this year, last year. You're obviously now considered a big part of that contending window. What does that feel? What is your feeling for the team for the future? And also, how does it feel to be considered a big part of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anything changes in terms of how I look at the team and I guess my role in it. When I got here 2 years ago, I ex, you know I expected myself to be at the level that I was able to get to, and like I said, to even make an improvement last year versus the year before, it was great, and um, I want to hit the ground running again. I still have a lot of things motivating me. It's even funny, like you finish the season and you go, oh, I don't even want to go near a hockey stick. I don't want to go near the gym, nothing like that. And then I get about 10 days in and I'm like, all right, I'm heading up. I'm in Florida right now with my family. And, I've been up in the gym a few times, just getting a sweat and getting moving again, just because it's, a little bit of that fire burns in you, even when you're on vacation. So I'm the type of person that has to make myself take time off because if I don't, you don't quite have the juice that you want to have when you're training the off season, mentally. So, um, I mean, since I got here, I felt like I really wanted to become part of this group and become, a guy that has looked to help this team win. And that's what I expect of myself all the time. And, you get bought out, I guess. And, a lot of people think, oh, that means that, you're on the back nine and or near the end. And for me, I never looked at it that way. It was just a new beginning for me, and I felt like the year prior to it, I had my best career year. So it's kind of funny how that could happen a year later. And I never once doubted what I could bring. And I want to keep, like I said, but I want to keep improving, and I feel like I still have some of my best hockey ahead of me, and that's my goal, to help this team win a Stanley Cup. That's the number one and only thing that's really on my mind.
It's funny because the Stanley Cup has now been awarded. You had said, I think, on your radio hit last that you weren't watching a second of it. But I also really love the line you had. I think it was end of season media availability where you said the day you win a Stanley Cup might be the hardest to come up with motivation, as you're talking about, to get back in the gym. And as you wear the Masters hat there, oh no, that's a Texas one, but it looks like the Masters colors. Look at that.
Yeah, close.
But that made me think of Rory McIlroy winning the Masters and then saying, I'm kind of having trouble finding motivation because I've achieved my dream, my ultimate goal. And we talked about how close you guys felt. And then does it also feel like you're acres away because you didn't get past Edmonton? I mean, where do you guys feel that this team is, knowing there's going to be some changes, whether it's a new head coach, we already know, and with cap space being so tight, there may be some other moves?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, that was obviously a big conversation, the cap part in my deal, right? You go to free agency, it could have looked a little bit different for me. But for me, I'm excited that, we still should be able to keep a big chunk of this team together. And that was big for me. I didn't, you don't want to come back to a team that's not as good. And I really believe that we're in our window right now, and this window could be long for this team because of the young talent we have, and the older guys, not really slowing down. So, um, that's exciting. And yeah, I think, to get back to your original question about, and kind of the Rory thing is, I think, and I think for him, he'll find this pretty quick, but when you're why do you train? Why do you want to play? Why do you want to do this? When you're like, I think when your why is to win, you know, you're pushing towards that. What you can't forget along the way is how much you love the game and why you play the game and why we started playing this game in the first place. And that was somewhere I really got to in the last 2 years, where I felt, you know, and when I went through some slumping in the playoffs, I think that was something I lost. Was my why was all about winning. Why I love this game. You kind of forget about it at times, right? And that could affect your finish. You do everything right and the puck doesn't go in. Sometimes it's because you're so focused on the result, you're not focused on the the process and your why. Why do I play this game? Well, I love this game. I love playing it. And I mean, if getting back to Rory, like that's why he plays golf. He loves it. He's a golf fanatic. He eats, sleeps, and breathes it. And when he gets back to that, he'll start winning again. So I think that is something that, I think we kind of ran into maybe, the last 2 years. And I think we've got to, and that's when you watch the Panthers play. I didn't watch a second of hockey after, but when I watch them play, they feel like, and yeah, after you win one, you're playing with casino money, but they win two because I think they have, as a team, a really good, they just love playing together. They have fun. They enjoy playing the game of hockey. And that's the most important thing. And the day that I lose that, or is the day I'll retire. And, I think I think retiring will come before I lose that. To be honest, I think it'll be time for me to hang them up and be with my family. But and then I'll pour my passion into my son and into my next endeavors. But that's kind of how I look at it. And I think a lot of people that win, they lose that kind of concept of that and that kind of outlook. And that's something that I have to continuously remind myself because yeah, it's infuriating losing in the conference finals and being that close to the same team 2 years in a row. It's infuriating, hitting every goalpost possible in the playoffs. I mean, it's that's kind of what it's been, and that's the growth, right? And that's what I'm excited. There's that old saying: if you're ripe, you're rotting, and if you're green, you're growing. And I want to stay green until I hang them up.
Can we go, or you got to get?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know if we had to get to your little break.
No, Matt's here. We're going to keep on rolling.
Matt, Owen mentioned changes, players, coaches, and things like that. If you had the opportunity, or if you were sitting in there with Jim and you wanted, and I'm not talking about a name, if you were going to build or design your perfect coach, that could come in and the way that you guys feel that you can play and should play and want to play, how would you put that coach together?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's all I ask here.
Yeah. No, it's that's tough. And first of all, I want to mention Pete DeBoer. Pete is an outstanding coach, and that I am so grateful to him for the 2 years I played under him. He was outstanding, and it's tough to see. It's probably been one of the toughest things I've been through in terms of seeing somebody leave like that, like a coach or somebody like that I've been through on a team. So, I mean, I wish him nothing but the best going forward. So I just want to get that in there first because he's a great guy and a great coach. And, I'm sad that we couldn't have got over the top for him because he deserves to win a Stanley Cup at some point. So, but to answer your question, I think the nice thing with our team is we have so much internal leadership and we have a lot of accountability towards each other. And when someone's not playing well or somebody makes a mistake, you can feel the guilt or the feel bad off those guys. So you don't even have to hold guys accountable because you can tell those guys know when they made a mistake. It's not a guiltless no conscience hockey team that just worries about themselves and wants to play their own way. So that's really special. So I think it's not like we need an authoritarian to come in and kind of hold us to that standard. And Pete was great like that. He had a very good balance, and I think that's something that he understood about our group. And I think the next guy coming in, hopefully has that too. And I think management, the short conversations I've had with management about it, I haven't talked much about, but they understand that. They know how special our group is, how mature our group is. Even our young players are extremely mature, and everyone's. One thing I've noticed about our group, everyone's very hard on themselves in a really good way. Sometimes you have to go pick somebody up because and it's instead of going and giving somebody crap about something they did, you have to do the opposite because they might be being too hard on themselves. So I'm like that. I know I'm way too hard on myself at times, and it can be just as detrimental as the other way. So yeah, I think I think we were a skilled team. I think our biggest problem the last couple of years, we didn't score enough in the playoffs, and myself included. I was in that pool of guys, and that's something that we need to fix. I think we're a really good defensive team. I think we defend and we're very responsible. I think we scored a lot during the regular season, and I think in the playoffs, we got to continue that good feeling, and I wouldn't say play looser, but maybe a little more free at times, and that falls on us as players to get there mentally, and like I said, focus on why and why we love the game, and bring that into the big moments.
Matt, since we're talking about the coach, how much did that change come into your thoughts about your future and signing? And was there ever any point where you said, let me wait until I find out who this new coach is before I make this contract extension?
I think in a lot of places I would have wanted to see what that looked like. Um, but I believe Jim Nill is the best GM in the league. I believe he's one of the best, if not the best person that I've worked with. I have so much high praise for him, and that's coming from somebody who's been through 2 negotiations with him where it didn't go the way I wanted it to. You know what I mean? So he's just so good, but I respect the heck out of it because it helps our team get better. And I think they all knew how bad I wanted to be here, and they used that for sure. But you know, it's I can laugh about it now. This week it wasn't a laughing subject for a lot of it, but no, I have nothing but great things to say about Jim, and that's why I don't worry about who he's going to bring in because I know he's going to bring in the right guy for us, and just having played for Pete and seeing what kind of coach he was, he was at such a high level, and that's a guy that Jim brought in, and that's the kind of standard he has. So I know it'll be a guy at least of that caliber again, or close to, even if it's a young guy, a guy that can get to that caliber. So and again, and the other side of it is I believe in our group, and I think our group can win, um, a number of different ways, and I think we're probably an easier group to coach than a lot of other groups just because of how mature and how much character we have. So yeah, Jim is the reason I didn't worry about that because I trust that guy with as much as anyone I've ever trusted playing for in my career.
Luds, do you want to do the honor of the last question? Because we could talk to Matt all day, and
Yeah.
he's very generous with his time.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to let you go. You probably got a tea time or a margarita or something like that to get to, because I know
I wish
do.
I had both. I just got kid watching all day right now. I'm in,
Well, Matt,
there's no such
that's
thing
probably
as vacation with kids.
That's a good reason. That's a good reason for when you get back in town, you do want to come in here and come in the studio and do this, because we have all of that. We got a putting green here. We got the margaritas. We got
Perfect.
everything.
Yeah.
I want to finish with this. I just want to say, when healthy, okay, when the Marchment and Sagan are healthy, why does that line work so well?
Yeah. I think it starts off the ice. I think we spend a lot of time together. Our communication's outstanding. We see the game pretty similarly, and we you know what, everyone on the line buys into a game plan that we have. We talk as much or more than any line that I've ever been on, and we're all on the same page. And it's so fun when we come up with something before a game that we want to try, or a style that we want to play against certain D zones and certain neutral zones and all that. And it's so fun when we end up scoring and the other two guys have the assists on it. We get such a high off that because it's not because of that. It's because of the camaraderie and everything that we have off the ice. And I'm still really frustrated that we weren't able to produce more in the playoffs because we produced a ton of chances and it just we couldn't find the back of the net, and we take responsibility for that. I know I do, and but our process is pretty darn good for a lot of that, and you know it's a fun line to play on. It's been probably the best line I've played on in this league, and I've had so much fun with those guys. It's been great, and hopefully we can we'll see what the new coach wants to do, but if we're together next year, we want to keep pushing. We have unfinished business just like everybody else, and we're happy with what we've done, but we're not satisfied, if that makes sense.
I got to give you one more little quick one, because I think only you tell us about your captain.
Oh, good call.
I am I have not one criticism of that guy. He's such an amazing character guy, does everything right, cares so much about our team. There's another guy that's overly hard on himself. He doesn't realize what he brings when he's not producing. He brings a lot. That's a guy that obviously you love when he's at that point per game clip that he's capable of being at. But when he's not, when it's not going in for him, he's still bringing a lot. Whether it's just even something he says, his presence, he could sit on a bench for a whole game and help us win. That's the kind of effect he has on us, and it's been he and I got really close this year. I think a lot closer off the ice, and we spent a lot more time together this year and than the year before. We had a great relationship the year before too, but we gravitated more to each other, I think, this year, and as maybe the two old guys on the team. But no, he's an outstanding leader, outstanding character guy, and an outstanding hockey player. And I would love nothing more than to see him lift the Stanley Cup.
Now, I'm not asking you to break anything news-wise here, but he has said he's intending to play next year. Jim Nill's already said if he wants to play, he's going to be a Dallas Star. I'm guessing you're going on the assumption that he's going to be your captain this year.
Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind on that. We haven't talked about it, but a ton. But I haven't heard the R word out of his mouth once. So he wants to win. That's a guy that's got burning fire in him, and sometimes you can want to win too much, and I've been in that boat as well. So if he and I can find, like I said, our why, and why just coming to the rink and loving it, I think I love it more now than I did when I was younger. You just appreciate the little things that much more, and I think he's going to have a big year for us this year.
Well, Matt, it's an absolute pleasure to have you join us today, and I say this sincerely. The last 2 years, getting to know you and talking hockey with you, you're a gem in the best possible way. It's so appreciative from my angle, the things that you bring and the thoughtfulness, and 4 more years of that. I'm very excited.
Yeah,
so
congratulations.
It's a big day for you and your family and for us. And Sam, when you come into the studio and you have an open invitation to come join us for an hour, spent time working in the music scene in Nashville, and you guys have to talk about this. So just a little nugget for later. But thank you very much, and really hope you enjoy the rest of your beach vacation and your summer.
I got a couple clubs you can come and play at, Matt. I don't know if they're called clubs, but I got security too, so you're handled.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for that comment as well. I hope God gave me the gift of gab, and hopefully you're not sick of me by the end of these next 4 years. So, but I appreciate it.
We've got nothing but content to fill. You can help with that. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
There he goes. Matt Duchene, the newest extension for the Dallas Stars offseason. You can see why we enjoy Luds talking to Matt. I mean, we've played his clips throughout the year, but he's such an easy conversation.
He's a pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, just like Jamie.
Yeah.
Jamie's interviews are the same.
Identical.
I'm so sweaty and tired. I didn't even catch what
he said. Just like Jamie, and
there
there's just this pause, and I go, "Wait a minute, what did he just say?" Yeah. Huge thank you to the Stars PR staff for helping us set up that today with Matt, and of course, we are definitely going to get him in studio. Maybe around training camp. We'll see if when he gets back into town, have some fun. It's usually easier then than in the middle of the season when he's got kid duty on his 1 day off. They've been on a 6-day road trip, and then you get back home and get your turn. Yep. So, big deal for Matt. We have a show tomorrow on Friday, 1 o'clock, with Leah Asimakopoulos, who is the Dallas Stars beat writer for the Dallas Morning News. She will be in studio. Sam is out tomorrow, so Luds and I will be here in the lounge studio with Leah. We'll talk about Duchene and all the things that go with that. And any final thoughts today, guys, before we wrap this one up?
Big one tonight for the men's U.S.
you're
team
on
in
soccer.
the Gold Cup.
He brought up soccer, Luds.
Against Saudi Arabia. I'll be there.
Luds, you have anything hockey-related you want to end with?
I gotta go pick up my skates right now.
For Craig Ludwig, Sam Nessler, for our producer today, TC Fleming, I'm Owen Newkirk. Huge thank you to Matt Duchene, and we hope you enjoyed today's DLLS Stars podcast. Don't forget, you still have time to donate to Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
Let's beat DNVR.
Let's do it. Thank you, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.